Hello everyone and welcome back to English 1510 for week 14 overview. We're rounding the corner here at the end of the semester, and I want to touch on a few things to make sure we're very clear as to what is expected of everyone from now to the end of the term. Your classes end at the end of the month here, and we're looking at some of this layout where essentially some students doing okay and will be just fine here at the end. You've been up to date on most things all term. And then some students I've had to have individual conversations with, either messaging, phone. Got a few more Zooms coming up this week, but dealing with those each in stride and keep those students are at least making an effort to get everything caught up. You know, different things that have happened throughout the term have sidelined different people for different reasons, but and the main things for this week are just to make sure that I touched on the primary things of issue. First and foremost, messaging. I sent out another email as a courtesy reminder to students in the online classes. Very early on in the semester, I had moved everyone to instant messaging here in D2L. If you need to have contact with me, that's the little envelope here at the top of the page. Excuse me, I'll move the window up a little bit. It's the little envelope at the top of the page on any one of your online OCC D2L accounts. You'd have this in here for instant messaging. I've been messaging back and forth with many of you since about the third week of the semester, so that's been good, and we've been staying up to date on things. There's still some students, though, where I have found that that has not been something that they've kept up with, and still here and there in the occasional email. I am going through and getting those for the ASC for the tutoring things and anything that I've individually communicated with the student that we still use that. However, other than that, I don't go through and search for those anymore. The rules at the beginning of the semester in the syllabus and at the opening, the pre-term email that was sent out, and then the week 1 email, and then the week 1 video posting, and then same with week 2. So 3 different times there. The messaging was supposed to be that if you're going to email, you include your class here, your section number, all of that in the email subject line, and then, you know, your first and last name, your class, section number, and then any subject that's relevant to what you're emailing about. Instead, I got a number of different things, right? That's why I sidelined that and ended up going to just the messaging, so it wasn't emails constantly getting lost from 100 different students throughout the term. I did stop with the discussion board things. I put the grades in on those. I think I have a few more to put in on discussion boards, but I didn't keep that going for a couple of different reasons I mentioned before. We need to move away from that because it was getting to be too disjointed between some of the people's participation and what they really were or were not providing to classmates. So I'm not doing that at the end of the semester here for the research paper portion, but the ones that were there, I did go through and give credit on the ones that I had, and there might be a few more that I have to put in, but I think I for the most part got those. Now, with the final grading and discussion of those things here over the final week that we're looking at, I'll say in terms of assignment schedule, I changed one thing here in the upcoming week. You have the research outline with abstract and works cited at 15 sources. The last 2 weeks you had the summary with working thesis, and then you had the primary points of support with 10 sources. Summary with working thesis with 5, primary points of support with 10, now the outline with abstract and 15 sources. So we'll touch on that in just a moment here. I changed it to Wednesday. I had a number of students asking if they could have a little bit of a buffer between the submission of that and here. So I do have, going through for some of those feedback and grades, I have everyone's research summary and working thesis done, everyone's primary points of support with the additional works cited, the longer works cited. I have all of those finished. I have 4 in one class to still post today, 5 in the other, and then for the primary points of support, I have 1 in one class and 5 in the other, kind of match up. So there should be no reason that by the time this opens this evening, 6 o'clock on Monday, that they shouldn't all be up. So everybody has those. But keeping with that, I've also contacted students about some of the specific things to address. So everyone should have a very clear understanding of what you're changing and need to address for the outline before you get into this piece. The memoirs, I'll go to student view on this so that it's consistent with what you're seeing, and I'll change back in a moment. But if we go through here, I've put the videos each week, down here in the course schedule and overview. Last week for 13, I introduced you guys this outline, and then I had it on there as the 10th. It's moved to the 12th now, and then the works cited paper, research paper itself. So then this week, the only submissions on here that are listed that are things that are due are the outline. Again, this outline now that you're doing this week, it's going to be due on the 12th, not the 10th. So you guys have until Wednesday with this. And then with the paper, this week you guys will finish that and submit it. And now you won't have a due submission, sort of like the buffer zone between these two with the outline, primary source points of support, and the summary working thesis. Now you got the outline that you are submitting, but then you won't have the draft actually due until the final week of class. Get it in as soon as you can so I can start grading, but the last date that I can give everyone on that will be the 26th. So nothing will be due next week on the 17th, 18th, 19th. You'll still be working on taking that outline into draft. Obviously watching for my feedback on those, but if you've done everything right up to this point, you should be working towards your drafting stage. So again, the outline with abstract and works cited of 15 sources, MLA formatted, all that good stuff, that's due by Wednesday this week instead of Monday evening. I gave that little buffer zone there. I think that works well for the requests that I got. And then the 26th for that final paper. I have to have those by then because I have to start entering grades on the 27th. And then the memoir rewrite, I put this up as if recommended. I'm at 60 to 65% of students right now who simply don't need to do one. The grade was perfect, if not very near perfect on those. I will post the rest of those up by the Wednesday of this week too with those. I have, for memoirs, I have 7 more final drafts to post the grades for those. And rhetorical analysis, I have 10. The memoirs, only 2 of them I'm not finished with just because the situation with the individual students. Other 5 are done. I just need to publish the feedback on those, and that will make sure everyone has at least 2 weeks to do an edit and revision of those if it's recommended. Again, most students don't need to do a revision in that area. Rhetorical analysis, I only did any rewritings with those with a couple of students for individual reasons, but I have 10 of those to post by the end of this week. That's not in the rewrite category except for a couple of students. Those were individual issues, but I have around 10 of those to post the final grade up total. And as I said, research 4 or 5, and summary points with working thesis 4 or 5 of those, and 1 and 5 in the other category. So should be no reason those aren't all posted. Then looking at final grades for the semester. If I don't have work from you, if I'm looking through this assignment schedule that we had, and I don't have work in one of these areas, and I have nothing submitted and no grade for it, I don't go back and do late work and makeup and things. If you are a student who's fallen behind these areas, it's time to either contact counseling or me about withdrawing or the failing grade or whatever it's going to be, because I have a number of situations here where some students have submitted in some categories but not in others, and I do have 3 students in one class that I don't see a possibility of passing, and maybe 4 in another. So that's 7 students total between 2 online classes of 50 students total. That's it's not typical, not completely uncommon, but to completely stop submitting work or only partially submit all semester is a little bit shaky. So these rewrites, as I said, for those of you recommended, you'll have up to the 26th. The rest of those will be posted by Wednesday. Everyone should have summary, the rhetorical analysis stuff up through this. As I said, I have a few more of those to post up final grades, but those stand with the exception of a few students that got special both discussions and recommendations for specific reasons. We're working on things there. But then the summary with working thesis and 5 sources, primary points of support with 10 sources, those are completed. Those should be up before you're finished watching these videos today, and then the outline with abstract due this Wednesday by 11:30, and then I'll start doing feedback files on those. Research paper itself by the 26th at 11:30 p.m. I can't go any further than that, as I said, with extension line in there. So this week is just essentially a reiteration on this, the week's assignment. Changing over to instruction mode here. The week's assignment for this week is the outline with abstract and 15 sources on the works cited page. After that, next week's video will just be overviewing the paper. I have this Dropbox already open and accessible. You guys will starts April 10th at 6 p.m. So this evening you guys will be able to read this once this is open. Just note that in the video, any reference or dates on there that's in this, I did record this instructional one. I redid it in the fall last year, so it should still cover the same things. It just has one topic in there you guys weren't allowed to, that I took off for this one, that electoral college piece. But make sure you guys read through all these directions on here. If you follow these to the letter for what all the recommendations and requirements are, you'll have everything you need for your paper when we come to drafting. So make sure that these are completed. The template for this on the outline, this week's assignment on here, you're looking through this, the video on here, again, I redid those. It'll say things from the fall 22 probably on there, but yours is due April 12th by 11:30 p.m. Just ignore any timeline things there. So on the outline directions, make sure you read through all of this, write in full sentences. I'm going to pull the outline up and set. Make sure you remove the sample statements and put your own in. All content must be in the third-person objective viewpoint. Several of you on the summary and working thesis moved away from that again, and the primary points of support, you had second-person and first-person usage in there. No contractions in the actual writing now. Organize a general to specific intro. This will be happening out of your content from summary and working thesis. The only thing that will be slightly modified is if you're doing this, if you're doing something like music therapy and you're not going to have a definition paragraph, you might have a longer your topic section here where you describe and define what music therapy is for your reader. Then your three bodies might be just focused on, different areas of treatment, applied treatment. And the intro always with an explicit thesis. Give a topic sense at each one of the body paragraphs that tells the reader what the body is about. If you're doing music therapy, obviously each body is about an area of therapy, application of therapy. Give the reader adequate support. Make sure that you follow the quote formats that are listed below. You have to have direct quotes. Give 2 quotes per body paragraph to support 2 different major supporting claims. Follow quote formatting. That means that down below here where it talks about quote formatting for these, you're going to have the description of how this is done. Major support, minor support, minor support. You introduce by making a major support claim. You give the quote as a minor support to that claim, and then you explain and or defend that quote as a minor support explanation. Follow these instructions and the wording. 2 per body paragraph. Okay, 2 per body paragraph. No block quotes are allowed, so you can't have anything more than 3 lines. No block quotes allowed. 3 lines or less on these pieces so that I'm getting more of your analysis as opposed to just the support from those research pieces. All right, the template here, which is provided, make sure that you remove any examples on here. I used music therapy as a sample piece. I have instructional and sample sentences throughout. Make sure you remove those to write your own. And then down here below, follow the same for the body paragraphs. The first one is fully scaffolded for you. The rest are just scaffolded with transitional elements, the abstract that follows. And then I started a works cited page so I could show you 2 things. One, this is the format that it should look like. For those of you who submitted those without correct formatting, it's become abundantly clear that I have students who either didn't get the textbook or haven't been reading it. From the questions and errors that I've seen, there's a picture of this in that chapter on MLA that not only gives you the instructions of how to do the works cited page, it has a picture of how this should look when it's formatted correctly. Okay, so this is alphabetical order. This is the last name, first name of author, et al. Indicates more than one person, gives the title, and has the DOI at the end. I shouldn't have accessed on dates that are at later dates, and I don't need hyperlinks. So if you had a hyperlink like this, highlight it, go to the hyperlink, and remove hyperlink so that it just goes back to normal. That's how those should look. Okay? Let me know if you got questions from D2L Instant Messaging. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing the work, guys. Good luck.